If you live in any state that gets any type of snow, you know that Subaru Outbacks are a main choice of most consumers. Living in Colorado, we see these ones everywhere, and so today we're going to make ours a little bit more unique. We have a leftover decal that never made it onto our 2023 Toyota Tacoma because it got smushed, and today we're going to modify it and fit it to the Subaru instead. So come along with us and we're going to show you that install and show you how to customize your Subaru so you stand out from the crowd. Also going to be working on putting on a decal. So this decal you might recognize from our 2021 Toyota Tacoma. We had plans before the red Tacoma got smushed that we were going to put the same decal on it. Obviously that truck is no longer in existence since it's been totaled out. But this sticker came in after the fact and I didn't want to return it. And because we were like, well, if we get another Tacoma, it'll probably fit. And so we just held on to it. Well, obviously we didn't get a Tacoma, we got a Subaru. But the beautiful thing about this sticker is it should fit perfectly. And so I will show you that as we install here. I've already got the tape down, as you can see here. I've already kind of pre-cut off a little bit of the white to make it fit a little bit better. I've already measured on each side to make sure that it is even. So we're gonna start this process by getting my tools out. Little toolkit I use for when I do decals. And so it comes with this little pusher thing here. This is super important. And then you also have some different razor blades attachments. I personally like to use this one. It's nice and nimble, but you're definitely gonna wanna have a razor blade of some sort. I've already primed and cleaned the surface, but these little kits like this, sometimes the decals you purchase will come with them. If not, you could purchase this on Amazon. It's actually pretty cheap. First thing you wanna do is lay it out like I have here. Now this one has a lot of bubbles in it, so it's gonna probably kick my butt a little bit today. But when you have a decal, you wanna make sure to lay it out flat. Second of all, you wanna decide what method you're going to use. Today, and with most decals, I'd prefer to use what's called the dry method. So pushing it on, doing it this way. The other way to do it, depending on your decal type, is with the soapy water method. I cannot remember if this one allows for soapy water method, so I am just gonna do the dry method. And so that's what we're gonna continue with today. If you're doing it on a shorter vehicle like this, you could probably just use an easy step stool, or if you want, you could probably reach from the ground. As I get closer to the bottom, I'll be able to reach from the ground. So I'm gonna be starting with a step stool on the one side, and I'm gonna start from the top. And why am I starting from the top? It's because I can watch my overhang here. So I've already got the decal pushed up pretty good, where I've got a good overhang amount for that curve that's in the hood naturally. And since this decal was not cut for this, it was cut for Tacoma, that is why I'm pushing it a little bit above. I can trim that when I get to it at the end. So let's get ready and start this install. So we're gonna speed this up for you so you don't get too bored, so we can get to all the important bits. So what the first thing I'm doing here is I am removing part of the backing of the decal itself. Now, when you watch some of those professional videos when they have the wraps going on the cars completely, they take the whole thing off. I find that with my skill level, I'm not quite capable of doing that. So I like to work these specific decals piece by piece. And this decal, because it has been sitting for over 6 months without being used, is going to be a little bit more difficult than one that has been freshly produced. It does have quite a bit of bubbling, and the vinyl quality isn't as great as it once was. Plus, caveat, this decal is pretty cheap, and so the vinyl quality is questionable. However, our Subaru has a lot of chips on the hood and things like that, so this is going to be a mass improvement over what's happening with the Subaru. Now, once you start getting part of the decal adhered to the hood itself, you're going to probably start removing some of that tape a little bit or adjusting it. This is just to get that initial hold so you know where you're putting your decal. Now, another thing you're seeing here is that I'm not wetting the edge of my tool, and that's because this has a cover on it to protect the decal, so you don't have to do that. Now, if you're applying a decal that does not have that, you're going to want to wet your tool to keep from scratching it. Now that I've got the top on the one side adhered, I'm kind of adjusting that tape just a little bit, and then I'm going to start adhering the other side to that top curve to make sure that I'm ready to go and start pulling the decal down. Now, I decided to do a little cut here to make it a little bit easier to install. This mountain graphic specifically can be a pain in the butt for certain sections, so if you need to add some cuts in there to make it lay a little better, it's highly recommended. I've installed 3 of these at this point, so I've kind of figured out a specific technique on this decal. Once I added that slit, it laid a lot better, specifically since this decal is older, as I mentioned earlier, and then I started working it down to the bottom, and now we're going to do some movie magic to show you what it looks like once it's flat and adhere to the Subaru at some point, but I can kind of show where we're at right now. So it looks really bubbly, but don't worry, this is that plastic stuff that comes off the top. But we had a problem with the decal where it started ripping in a few places, but it still turned out okay because it's supposed to be a mountain with trees anyway. So it's really hard to tell that anything actually went wrong, but we're missing a piece in here that would give it a little bit more coverage with the vinyl. But this is what happens when you have older vinyl, is it can tear easily. And so that's what's happening here. So next I gotta do this bottom piece, and yeah. So these are 2 separate pieces when you get this decal if you decide to order it. So I'm gonna work on getting this one positioned where I want it to. I kind of have it roughly placed, but now I'm gonna officially start peeling off the backing to place it the rest of the way. So I'm gonna anchor the one side, and I'm actually gonna apply this one going in one direction. So this is the easiest piece to install since it doesn't really have too many intricacies and different cuts. And in my experience with this decal, the best way to apply this is from that side to side. Pick one side and go with it. The top to bottom is really harder to deal with. It's a lot easier to do it from one side or the other. And this piece goes so fast that you can probably get this done in just a couple of minutes, maybe 5 to 10 tops. Of course, you're going to want to make sure that you adhere really well to the hood, just like the other piece that you were working on previously. So now that I've got the decal all placed, I'm going to let it settle for a little bit, and then I'm going to remove the plastic. After waiting for a little bit, I started to remove the plastic off the decal. And honestly, this is probably the most satisfying thing of putting on a decal, is finally removing that plastic protective layer. You do have to put a little bit of muscle into it because it does like to stick to the hood pretty well. You'll want to be careful on any of those edges, making sure that the black doesn't peel up. If it does, you're going to want to go back in with your little tool and put some more pressure on that black so it does adhere to the hood properly. After removing that plastic bit, you do have a little bit more before you're completed and the final reveal. This next section is where you're going to need your knife. You can see the vinyl back there, but we're going to pull it and we're going to tuck it underneath so that we get a nice clean edge on the other side of the Subaru. So we're going to try to show you that as best as possible. It might not be so great. So from this section, I have already done one side, and I am not a professional by any means, but with working with lower quality vinyl, I find it better to not try to heat and try to do those edges without tucking in. I find that the decal sits and provides longer lasting durability if you tuck it underneath either a door or underneath the hood in this situation. So what I'm doing here is I'm adding in some little slits that are going to help it lay flat, because on the top of the hood you're not going to see any creases or anything like that. That just helps with a lower quality vinyl, at least in my experience. Of course, I'm trimming off the excess as much as I can, and I'm only going to tuck probably about 1/4 of an inch underneath the hood there, and that really just seems to keep that vinyl from wiggling, especially with moisture. This lower quality stuff does tend to want to come up if you don't do this. Now here is the final look of the decal. I think it looks pretty good, but what do you think? Comment down below. Off camera, I also added these on the back, and I think it really ties the mountain theme together. That is the install for a decal on the hood of your vehicle. So this one was a little bit more difficult since the vinyl was old, but honestly, it didn't turn out too bad. The next step of this one, because there are some bubbles in it, is to set it out in the sun for a few days and then go chase those final bubbles that don't go away, because a lot of times the sun will take care of that. But anywho, that looks pretty good. Kind of sets it off just a little bit, kind of gives it a little bit more flair than just a regular Subaru. Pretty neat.